It's not your lack of willpower. The system is designed to keep you addicted. Every time you unwrap a burger, dip fries into a pool of ketchup, or sip that fizzy, sugary drink, a hidden network of psychology, biology, and marketing lights up in perfect harmony. This isn't just food, it's engineered pleasure. In a world where a few corporations feed billions, the question is no longer why we love fast food, but why we can't stop. Hello and welcome. Today we are rediving into one of the most powerful industries shaping human behavior, the fast food empire. In this video, we'll uncover how our brains were hijacked by taste, habit, and profit, how addiction hides beneath our daily cravings, and what it reveals about the modern epidemic of obesity and disease. According to the World Health Organization, obesity is defined as an abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to health. In simpler terms, it means when the energy we consume through food constantly exceeds the energy our body uses, fat begins to build up, slowly, invisibly, and dangerously. Yet behind this simple equation lies something far more complex than calories in and calories out. Public health researchers describe obesity and other diet-related non-communicable diseases as the result of an obesogenic environment, a world that encourages overeating and inactivity. It's not just personal choice, it's a design. Supermarkets are built with sugar-laden products placed at eye level. Ads flood our screens with glowing burgers and smiling faces. Even the pricing is strategic, making the unhealthiest options the most affordable ones. From a biological perspective, fast food isn't simply appealing, it's neurologically addictive. The combination of salt, sugar, and fat triggers the same dopamine pathways that light up when someone takes drugs. Dopamine, the brain's pleasure molecule, reinforces behaviors that bring quick satisfaction. So when you bite into that perfectly salted fry, your brain learns one lesson: do it again. Nutritionists call this pattern food reward circuitry. The brain remembers the pleasure, not the calories, and begins to crave it long before hunger sets in. This mechanism was once vital for survival. Our ancestors sought high-energy foods to endure famine. But in today's world of abundance, it's a trap. The same instincts that once protected us now make us vulnerable. Every year, more than 4 million people die from diseases linked to obesity: heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and certain cancers. In the United States alone, over 70% of adults are classified as overweight or obese. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, nations once battling hunger now fight the opposite enemy: overconsumption. This isn't evolution. It's economics. The global fast food industry is now worth more than $900 billion, feeding more than just our stomachs. It feeds an entire system built on endless appetite. To understand the scale of the problem, look at how early it begins. Children are exposed to thousands of junk food ads every year, long before they can read a nutrition label. Cartoon mascots and bright packaging turn food into entertainment. Sugar becomes a comfort language. By the time they're teenagers, taste preferences are already wired, and the brain associates these foods with happiness, friendship, and even reward. Public health experts now describe this as a toxic food environment. In low-income communities, fast food outlets often outnumber grocery stores. For many families, a $2 burger is cheaper than a bag of fresh vegetables. The problem isn't ignorance, it's inequality. When corporations spend billions engineering foods that bypass our natural hunger signals, the idea of personal responsibility becomes a convenient myth. Behind every statistic lies a story: a bus driver eating on the run between shifts, a student surviving on instant noodles, a mother in a food desert choosing between convenience and cost. They aren't weak. They reliving in a system that rewards the very behaviors it blames. The brilliance of fast food isn't culinary, it's chemical. Each bite is engineered to hit what scientists call the bliss point, the perfect ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that maximizes pleasure and minimizes satiety. That's why you can eat an entire bag of chips and still crave more. Your brain is satisfied, but your body isn't. When these hyperpalatable foods enter the bloodstream, glucose spikes rapidly, flooding the body with energy. Insulin rushes to bring sugar levels down, but when this happens too often, cells stop responding, leading to insulin resistance, the first step toward type 2 diabetes. Meanwhile, the brain's reward system adapts. Dopamine receptors downregulate, meaning you need more of the same food to feel the same pleasure. The pattern is identical to addiction. Neuroscientists have scanned the brains of frequent fast food consumers and found changes similar to those seen in people addicted to drugs. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, becomes less active. It's not that people won't stop, it's that, neurologically, they can't. The system has hijacked the very circuits that once ensured survival. But biology isn't the only player. Marketing magnifies it. Fast food companies study psychology with military precision. They know that red and yellow trigger hunger, that the crunch of fried food signals freshness, that the scent of grilled meat near lunchtime can override self-control. Billboards, jingles, and slogans are not random. They're conditioned stimuli. They turn craving into reflex. And then there's capitalism, the silent architect. The global fast food market thrives on volume. It's designed for repetition, not nourishment. The cheaper and faster it is, the more addictive it becomes. This cycle of profit over health fuels not just obesity, but a public health crisis spanning generations. Each ad, each bite, each dopamine rush feeds into the next. By the time the damage becomes visible, hypertension, fatty liver, heart disease, the addiction has already won. The war isn't fought in hospitals. It's fought in supermarkets, schools, and billboards. And most of us don't even realize we're losing. When people think of addiction, they imagine syringes, needles, or pills, not pizza boxes and soda cans. Yet at a biological level, the parallels are striking. A dose of cocaine and a can of cola both trigger dopamine surges that make the brain scream for repetition. The difference is social acceptability. One is criminalized, the other celebrated with jingles and smiling faces. Clinical medicine looks at disease from the individual level: diagnose, treat, and medicate. Public health, however, zooms out. It sees the environment as the real patient. Where a doctor might treat diabetes with insulin, a public health expert asks why entire communities are developing it in the first place. The answers point to food deserts, advertising exposure, and government subsidies that make sugar cheaper than water. Fast food doesn't just compete with home-cooked meals. It competes with culture itself. In many societies, traditional diets, once rich in grains, vegetables, and fermented foods, have been replaced by deep-fried uniformity. The result? A slow erasure of local identity, replaced by a globalized menu of identical flavors: cheap, convenient, addictive. The contrast extends beyond biology and culture. It's deeply economic. While fast food companies record billions in annual profits, nations spend even more treating the diseases that result from their products. The irony is haunting. The more successful the industry becomes, the sicker its customers grow. When we look at the fast food epidemic through the lens of public health, personal responsibility begins to look like a half-truth. It's not just about willpower. It's about power itself. Who controls what we eat and why? The story of fast food addiction doesn't have to end in defeat. Across the world, communities and governments are beginning to push back, not by blaming individuals, but by changing the environment itself. In cities from Mexico City to London, sugar taxes have already shown results. Beverage sales dropped, and consumers slowly shifted toward healthier options. Policy, not guilt, began to reshape behavior. At the individual level, awareness is the first weapon. Understanding how the system manipulates cravings helps reclaim control. Reading labels, cooking at home, and prioritizing whole foods are small acts of rebellion against a machine built for profit. But these acts multiply when supported by systems, when schools serve balanced meals, when cities invest in accessible groceries, when advertisers are forced to tell the truth about what's inside their products. Communities can lead the change. In some neighborhoods of New York, residents have transformed vacant lots into urban gardens, turning concrete wastelands into living sources of food. In Japan, the government's Shokuiku initiative teaches children nutrition as part of their national curriculum, treating food education as essential as math or science. These approaches recognize that health isn't just a private matter, it's a shared ecosystem. Meanwhile, the fast food industry is adapting, but not always in good faith. Marketing now disguises processed products as plant-based or green, selling illusion instead of change. The public health challenge ahead is to ensure reform isn't just cosmetic. Genuine change requires transparency, regulation, and education working together, not slogans about choice, but environments that make the healthy choice the easy one. At the heart of this movement lies a simple truth. We created this system, and we can unmake it. Every plate, every ad, every policy decision either feeds the addiction or starves it. Real power begins with awareness, and awareness begins here. So what have we learned from this story of appetite and design? Fast food isn't just a meal. It's a system built to exploit the oldest parts of our brains. It thrives on biology, marketing, and inequality, weaving them into a perfect trap that feeds both addiction and profit. What began as a quick bite has become a slow epidemic. We learned that this isn't simply about self-control. It's about how corporations engineer pleasure, how governments subsidize sugar, and how society blames individuals for a problem rooted in systems. The same dopamine that once kept our ancestors alive now keeps billions hooked on processed flavors that promise joy but deliver disease. And yet, there is hope. Awareness breaks the spell. Once you see the system for what it is, the way colors, prices, and slogans manipulate your mind, you can start to resist it. Public health isn't about punishment. It's about empowerment. It is the science of giving people back their freedom of choice in a world that profits from their cravings. So yes, fast food has hijacked our brains. But understanding that truth is the first step to taking them back. If you found this video insightful, take a moment before your next meal to really think. Not about guilt, but about power. Every choice you make shapes more than your body. It shapes the system that feeds you. Awareness spreads like a vaccine. When you share knowledge, question labels, or simply cook one real meal at home, you're rewriting the story that corporations have written for your brain. Fast food won't disappear overnight, and neither will addiction. But together, we can learn, adapt, and fight smarter. Public health begins not in hospitals or labs, but in kitchens, schools, and minds willing to question what's normal. If you want to keep exploring how the world around you shapes your health, subscribe and join us in the next episode, where we'll uncover how global marketing turned nutrition into business, and how we can reclaim it as a human right. Because the more we understand the system, the less power it has over us.